Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good news for homeowners in trouble. Help is on the way. Good evening, I'm Opal, Roach, and this is The Bahamas Tonight. Beginning next week, government will make good on an election promise, assisting those facing home foreclosure. The Christie administration has had numerous discussions with lending agencies and those in authorities in hopes of finding the right formula to help those in trouble to save their homes. Noel Ferguson tells us when the application process begins.
Come Monday, persons who meet the government's criteria to qualify for the government's mortgage plan will be able to turn in their applications to the clearing banks. However, Prime Minister Christie says that the terms and conditions can change depending on the health of the economy.
Everything has been governed by the current state of the economy. And what we wanted to do was to fulfill the political mission. That is what we said in our Charter for Governance, to show that we have begun the process. And everything you do with respect to these kinds of programs will depend on the health of the economy. I'm very, very grateful that we've been able to, with the clearing banks, find a way to initiate the program. And much to the credit, I think, of both parties, the Minister of Finance and the clearing banks, we have been able to go much further than I had anticipated in terms of coverage. And as I said, as we become a healthier economy things go as I am hoping they will go, then we can anticipate an improved situation.
In a government notice issued today, applicants must meet the following conditions. Their mortgage must be in Bahamian dollars, as foreign currency mortgages will not be accepted. The mortgage must have originated before June 30th, 2008. The mortgager must not have been more than 89 days past due prior to June 30th. Their outstanding debt and interest must not exceed $500,000. Mortgages must be 90 days past due before August 31st, 2012. Applicants must also show that their debt is a result of involuntary unemployment, underemployment, or a chronic illness. And the mortgage holders must have acceptable and verifiable income to support restructured payments. According to the Prime Minister, the program, now in its initial phase, will be closely monitored.
We want to ensure that people do not take advantage, do not exploit it, and that to those who really can be benefited by the program, that they are in fact benefited. So it's something we will watch very carefully.
Applicants will also have to submit a job letter or pay slip, written evidence of chronic illness where applicable, evidence of loss of employment or reduction of work hours, and details of all outstanding debt. The Clearing Banks Association is expected to hold a press conference on Thursday to further update the public on the details of the mortgage plan. I'm Noel Ferguson, ZNS News Network.
In other news tonight, if Cable Bahamas has its way, then you will have to pay a little more for basic service. The utilities regulator announced today that the sole cable provider has made an application to increase its fees. Andrew Knowles took to the streets to get some feedback.
Renato Simonet and Ronald Johnson are irate over Cable Bahamas' proposed rate increase of $8 for its basic cable television services.
I think that's ridiculous because the economy, they think slow, and everything going up. And $8, $8 mightn't sound much for one person, right? But if 100,000 people put $8, that's a lot of money.
I think that's robbery. I'll say you do it if they're giving you more pictures, more movie or more channels on, but you still paying $38 for the same channel? That's out of order.
But not everyone shares their view.
A lot of people in Nassau especially are hooked up with cable, and yes, I'm for that. If it's from 1995, and if it's to do with Cable Bahamas, I'm sure it's something that makes a lot of sense.
If they can give you a rational explanation as to why they're doing it, I don't have no problem with it.
Since Super Basic Cable TV is regulated by IRCA, Cable Bahamas has to obtain written approval before it can make any price changes. Cable Bahamas submitted an application on December 1st of last year for a 27% increase in the monthly charge. That would mean residential customers would pay $8 per month more on their cable bill, while commercial customers would dish out $13.50 more. The current charges of $30 for residential and $50 for commercial customers has not changed in 17 years. But before ERCOT makes any decision, Chief Executive Officer Kathleen Smith says it wants to hear from consumers.
ERCOT has a duty to consult on matters that are of public significance, and ERCOT deems this application for a price increase by Cable Bahamas to be a matter of public significance. Therefore, ERCOT has to allow persons with sufficient interest or whose interest may be materially adversely affected by any regulatory measure to be issued by ERCOT an opportunity to comment on the proposed regulatory measure.
ERCOT's Director of Policy and Regulation, Stephen Burrow, says the cable services provider indicated that programming costs have increased significantly over the years, and that's why Cable Bahamas is asking for the rate hike.
ERCOT is convinced, therefore, that its consideration of any proposed price increase in the current Rev TV Prime or Super Basic price must have regard to the likely potential impact of the increase on vulnerable customers. And in this regard, ERCOT is committed to working with all stakeholders to ensure that the best interests of the public in the Bahamas are served.
Now, ERCOT will be hosting several town hall meetings and public forums over the next few weeks. The first is scheduled to take place next week, Tuesday, September 11th at 6:30 p.m. at the Holy Cross Anglican Church Hall. Andrew Knowles, ZNS News.
Well, ERCOT officials are still investigating the circumstances surrounding BTC's massive network outage 3 months ago, which left thousands of customers and businesses without landline, cell, or data services. Now, while ERCOT completed its initial review, it requested the communications provider to submit additional information.
The last information request, which went out, I believe, on the 16th of August, requested 24 separate pieces of information of BTC, and they have requested some more time to respond to it. ERCOT has responded positively to their request in that we feel it's not unreasonable, and they've asked us at this stage until the 24th of September. I do want to make a statement that we are pursuing this as assiduously as we can, but there's a lot of information to be considered and a lot to be provided by BTC.
From the courts, 44-year-old Dominican Jose Cabrera wearing the white T-shirt and 41-year-old Turks Islander Sean Pratt in the tan jacket facing a judge today in connection with that $2.5 million drug bust last Thursday. The two were arrested on Northwest Key off Great Inagua after authorities discovered 345 pounds of cocaine. In court today, Cabrera pleaded guilty to 4 drug-related charges. However, Pratt pleaded not guilty to conspiracy to possession charges. The matter had to be adjourned to Friday because Cabrera speaks little English. Meantime, the pair have been remanded to Foxhole Prison. Now, persons waiting to have their appeal cases heard before the High Court will have to wait until October to have those matters heard. That's because the roof is being repaired. The court was also forced to close briefly back in May due to a leaky roof. Authorities are trying to find the person or persons responsible for killing a 29-year-old man last night in an inner city community. As Fern Carey reports, the police went back to that area today searching for clues.
Police handed out flyers and talked to residents on Bayer Street and Hospital Lane, all in an effort to help them find out who killed a 29-year-old man in that area late Monday night. Police say the victim was in this very spot playing dominoes when a man armed with a gun came and shot him in the head and ran away from the scene. The victim later died in hospital. Police have identified the victim as Jasnell Edward Roberts of Hamster Road off Faith Avenue. He was reportedly a father of 3. Meantime, Superintendent of Police Stephen Dean says they're still looking for the suspect.
We have no motive in the matter because we are in the early stages of our investigations. We don't even have a description of the gunman at this point, at this time. So what you see here this morning, that police are coming back as a follow-up.
Superintendent Dean also made this appeal.
Anyone have any information on who these suspects may be? We want to find them. We want to find the persons. And we want to put this warning out to persons who continue to commit crime, particularly our prolific offenders who walk around with firearm holding people, shooting people, without any care or concern that the police will continue to target you. The police will continue to develop intelligence on you. And we're going to tell you, particularly our criminal persons who are watching, that we want to send a strong message out to you that you have not been visited by the police as yet. Expect a visit very, very soon.
Now, in response to this latest murder, police say they will beef up patrols on Hospital Lane and Meadow Street. Farron Carey, ZNS News.
As debate continues on the gambling issue, the referendum draws near. Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Perry Christie, says they're seeking outside help from a UK-based group in reviewing the country's gaming laws.
We are not competitive in our gaming regulations and laws, and so they've done a very, very comprehensive assessment of our laws as to their deficiencies, and this brings up to the point of how do you go about regulating internet gaming or gaming around the casino premises as opposed to the casino floor. So they have had the types of games we play, the types of bets they take. So really there is an effort going on now, not just to have a referendum with respect to betting shops and a lottery, but also with respect to what is happening in the context of gaming regulations and casino operations in our country. And so what I'm trying to do is both at the same time. And therefore the consultants are being retained to address both issues moving forward.
Well, the Prime Minister added that their recommendations will not be discussed at this point so that opinions are not influenced.
I don't have a horse in the race, right? And I want to be faithful to that promise, that not to give any indication as to the pros and cons and whatnot. I will be able to inform the Bahamian public at the due time exactly what they will be asked, the questions, and exactly when. And so there will be no doubt that we have made full disclosure of everything that would be required of the voting public, and we will do that and give them sufficient time, give the proponents and opponents to the referendum sufficient time to be able to present their cases to the Bahamian public.
And stay with us. There's much more news in a moment.
This portion of the